Hello,
Hello, freedom fighters.
hello, freedom fighters. Awesome stuff. Beverage of choice. I've got my lovely little cash flow is king.
Oh, what's in it, Belinda?
I'm happy to say it's cup of tea today, darlings. Cup
Cup
of
of
tea.
tea today.
Tea.
If
I'm a teetotaler.
you are watching live, type in hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, type in hashtag replay, just so we know if you're watching live or not. Okay, topic tonight: 7 ways to buy a rental property with no cash deposit.
Fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. This is
What do you do? What do you do? It's hard to
such a
say.
such a great topic because so many people kind of write themselves off if they just don't have cash that they can't invest in properties. And we know as coaches ourselves that we've seen so many people start without a cash deposit. So happy days.
Let's get creative.
All right.
Exactly. And even these days, it's so hard. We come across so many people. It's so hard to save, and quite often you have $0 or very little inside your savings account because it's just gone week to week, paycheck to paycheck. So what do you do in that case? How are you ever going to get out of that cycle? Let's try another way.
Correct.
First off, we are going to talk about superannuation.
Super duper. So Look,
So
these days it's, you need at least around $150,000 in super to get an investment property in your super.
And you
So
would be using something called what's called a self-managed super fund, which you would set up. And then inside that super fund, you would purchase a property, and then the super fund actually owns that property. Now, $150,000, you say, some people do not have that. The good thing is there's another way we can combine our super.
that's right. And that's called a JV, guys, a joint venture. So it's not unrealistic that you can do it with a friend, a colleague, a partner.
But tell us about yourself, Belinda. You were looking into
Yeah,
doing something like that?
absolutely. I'm on the start of, with my best friend doing, we spoke to each other and said, how much money do you have in your super? Now I only got about 75,000. So that's not quite enough for me to do it myself. But if I've got a friend who's got that other amount, boom, we can do it together. And
You
the
can do it
beautiful
together.
thing is, yeah, exactly. So look, that's super. There's no way it's going to make any more money for me over the next 10 years. But if I put a property into it, I could turn a property into, 1.2, 1.3 million. Not a bad option to have in 10 years' time.
Exactly. And the other good thing about superannuation, it doesn't affect your day-to-day living. It's not going to affect your pocket. So when you go to work, your work contributes to your superannuation. That property that you sit inside the super, depending on your age, will sit there for 10, 20, 30, some cases 40 years, depending on how early you get into it.
Yep.
Now, doubling that property every X amount of years, there's more and more options inside that super fund once you have that property in there. And that property will pay itself off to nothing, and you will own that property. Beautiful
Exactly.
thing about superannuation: what happens when you get to retirement and you've built a property portfolio outside of your super, for instance, you can sell that property, and there's no side effects in selling that property the same as there is outside of super, $0. And you can use it as an extra cash injection into your life, or you can use it as an extra income.
Yep. And usually it comes with a zero capital gains tax because obviously it's in your super. Happy days.
Absolutely.
Look,
The next one.
let's do it. Let's do it. Absolutely.
Okay, we're going with equity now. So equity. What is equity? Let's talk about what is equity, Linda.
So let's give an example. Let's say you bought a property, it's your family home, and you've been living in that property. And let's say 2 years ago, you bought a property for 500,000. And in 2 years' time, you get it revalued and you realize now it's worth 700. So the reality there is you've got $200,000 of equity sitting there. Now, realistically, that's like, that's like having a teenager. You go to work all day, coming home, and there's 200,000. You're a teenager sitting on the couch, eating your food, playing Nintendo, and not paying rent. So, guys, this is a really good opportunity to start getting your equity working for you and building up your portfolio. So that's the whole idea of equity. So in that
Yeah.
case, that person would have $200,000 of equity. Now, you don't have to use all of it. You can play it very conservative, which is the way that we like to play it. Play it
Yep.
conservative and maybe only use 100K of that and look at a property that obviously is in your borrowing capacity. So
Equity is by far the way that you can leverage from one property to another and grow your portfolio much faster than you could if you tried to save a deposit for every single one.
absolutely. And guys, while you're watching this, if there's any questions, please pop them into the chat. And
Yeah.
what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on them. And obviously, if they're relevant to the topic and we're talking about these 7 ways, we'll nut them out and we'll get back to them straight away.
And I'd love to hear how many different ways you've tried. Have you tried superannuation? Have you put property into super? Have you tried equity? Well, let's go with the next topic, Belinda. We're going on to joint ventures.
JVs. Well, look, I'm doing super, but obviously there's other ways to do joint ventures. Like, let's talk about the fact that, it might end up that you're earning good money at the moment and paying a lot of tax. Let's say you're earning, over 80 to $100,000 a year. However, you've got no deposit. But then your brother, sister, friend, relative, next door neighbor, they don't really have the income, but they're sitting on a property with equity. So guess
Absolutely.
what? Let's join up. Let's JV it. Let's
Now,
join
joint ventures, they can be done in so many different ways. And obviously, there's a lot of legalities and stuff that comes into it when we're talking about joint ventures. But the other thing to keep in mind, you want to do it with someone you trust. You want to both sign a legal document that you will both agree to. There's so many different ways that you can do them. And that's agreement between 2 people, 3 people, however many people are going into that property. Typically speaking, you hear a lot of families doing it, joint ventures and things like that. But the easiest, most simple legal way to do a joint venture is 50-50. You got half an income, they got half an income, you got a whole income together, they've got half a deposit, you got half a deposit. That's the most simplified way. However, they don't always work out that way.
So someone's just written in, let's JV it. Love the attitude.
Who
Absolutely.
wrote that?
I'm not sure. It just said Facebook user, so I don't know who it is, but
okay, write your name next to it. I wonder if that's Michelle.
So guys, yep, JVs are really good, and what a great way to get started. Obviously, the biggest scare factor is, I'm doing it with I'm not doing it with a husband or wife or whatever. If it's done right and you've got all the paperwork right, it's actually a really amazing way to get started in the market. So happy days.
Exactly. It's just all starts with that conversation.
Absolutely, 100%.
Starts with that conversation. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. All right. The next way, guarantor cash. Now we've got 2 types of guarantor. We've got guarantor cash and guarantor income.
Yep. Okay. So let's start with guarantor cash. So that means, do you want to take this one and I'll take the next one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if you've got a family member or friend or someone with available cash sitting inside their property that they're not currently using, they can act as a guarantor for you to get a loan for your next property. So let's say your parents have a property valued at $700,000. They don't owe anything on it. Quite typically, this is the most common case. They are not planning on purchasing any properties. However, they are willing to help you out. You don't have a deposit currently, but you do have an income. Now, they will guarantor you for your next property. Usually, when you go guarantor for a property, you can use it as equity, or you can use it as, hey, they're guaranteeing that they have that amount of money inside their property. However, that will link your properties. You want to unlink those properties. You want to remove them as guarantor as quickly as possible. How's that done? Basically, you want to wait until that property goes up enough in value that then you can release them as guarantor. Then that property is solely yours on your own, and you can keep going forward from there.
Yeah,
typically, around 12 to 18 months, usually you can release them as guarantor if you buy the right type of property.
That's it, absolutely. So that's guarantor with cash, guarantor with equity. You might as well
guarantor income. Guarantor income.
Guarantor income, sorry.
It's kind of like what you were talking about before with the income side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Someone's just written, if you do a JV, how does that work with tax? Wonder if we can bring this up. Are you able to bring this up, or can I bring these up? It doesn't look like I can
What's that?
bring up these questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Let's see this.
Um,
I was just looking for that question. Who said, so someone said, okay, if you JV, how does it work with tax? Here we go. I can bring it up now. There we go. So how does it work with tax? So that depends, right? So that depends on how you've got it set up. If you're 50-50 and you both own that, you're both owners in that property, then you would 50% own that property. Am I right, Belinda?
that's correct.
So
Absolutely.
you get 50% tax as well. So you own half the property, you've got half the income.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. Let's keep going. Someone just wrote, can't wait for Bali. Happy days. We love that. Awesome stuff. And hi, Susan, Andy G, and Adam Villa. Thank you for watching. Absolutely fantastic.
yeah. Hi, Adam. Okay, do guarantors need to have equity within Australia?
So do guarantors need to have, sorry, I'll just let you know, guys, my restream at the moment is running really slow. So,
Oh, okay. So do guarantors need to have equity within Australia? Preferably,
yes,
if they have equity in another country, then the only way that you could utilize that is if they were to pull it out as cash into their account and then
yeah.
transfer it to you as a cash deposit.
Yeah, so ideally, to answer that question, yes, they do need to be in Australia. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
preferably that would be the easiest way. Here we go. We've got another question popped up here. JV is different to partnership for tax purpose.
yes, well, partnerships. Yeah, look, I mean,
For partnerships for tax.
purposes, correct.
I assume you meant to write that.
Yeah, I think Darren was jumping in and helping us with the last question regarding how does the tax stuff work.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Okay, someone's just written, if you have the equity to invest but not the income, can you invest with what the right income?
Okay, and if you have the equity to invest but not the income, can you invest? Yeah, okay, so if you have the equity inside your property but your income is sitting really low, that's the guarantor income. So you would need someone to guarantor you in terms of income. So you've got a friend that you know that's earning, say, 80,000 or $100,000 a year. They will go guarantor for you on the loan to say, hey, you can get this property now because you are seen to have more income.
Absolutely. Someone's just written, yes, Ireland. So I think that's in regards to, do the guarantors have to have equity within Australia, somewhere in Ireland? I'm not sure about that, but that's
like I said, I believe you would have to withdraw it, as someone else can correct me, but I would believe you'd have to withdraw it as cash.
Yep, that's
and then
right.
transfer it to an
You'd
Australian
have to
account. So,
if it was Ireland, you'd have to get the money out through Ireland and then give it to Australia. That would
yeah,
be probably it.
and then the dollars converted. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. What number are we on? Because we're going to run out of time and we've got to get on.
Oh, we've got one more here. Okay, so if you have equity to invest, okay, we've got that one. We've covered that. All right, so the next one we're looking at is toys. We're going to sell some toys.
Ah, so what do we mean by
Cars, jet skis.
jet skis?
We have an example and a case study on this one. Do you remember his name, Linda?
Yes, it was one of our members. Oh my God,
He didn't have any deposit. He was a truck driver from memory.
Yes,
but he did have toys.
That's right. He had a couple of jet skis, and then he had a car as well. He had 2 cars, and the other car was just sitting there, and it wasn't doing anything. So, yeah. So the whole idea was, he ended up selling a lot of that stuff to help make up a deposit, and then that property, and then he bought a property, but then that property went through the roof. Then he got more properties, and if he wanted to, he's now got the money to go back and buy those toys again if he wanted to. So happy days.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. If you're willing to do what it takes, you'll make it happen no matter what. And I know a lot of people that are sitting on that line of going, I don't know what to do. There's no way in. If anything, start in your superannuation because that's not going to affect your pocket.
Correct.
You have to try budgeting systems. You're going to have to work extra hard for that first property. The hardest possible way you can do it is cash. If you can
Yeah,
save cash, you're doing really well, because a lot of Australians find it really hard to save cash. If
that's
you can
right.
find another way, even better.
Absolutely. Someone's
Make
just put a really good question.
Yeah.
Any minimum threshold requirements for investing in with super? Can we put that one in? And what's the risk involved? Well, look, the minimum requirements is usually about 150 here in Australia. Now,
Yeah.
what's the risk involved? Look, I think that, I mean, look, obviously the risk would be
The
not
risk,
using it. Super's sitting there doing nothing. It's not going to do
most of
anything.
the time, yeah, that's one risk. One risk, if you want to look at it in terms of getting property, if you go through the wrong field, the wrong people with the wrong team, and you buy the
And
wrong property.
the wrong property. I was just about to say if it's the wrong property, because if you end up with a property that's in the wrong area at the wrong time for the wrong pricing, the
Super goes back.
reality is you're not going to get the growth, and that property is actually not going to sit there and pay itself off. And
I
that,
have seen people come into this program doing exactly that, and they did get property, and they were looking at purchasing a property also in their superannuation, but it was a high-rise building in the middle of a city, 140 units inside it, and I convinced them not to do it. The reason for that is you purchase it, there's no guarantees that property is going to go up in value. What kind of research has been done there? You've got 140 units that need to be rented out at the same time in that same building. No guarantees it's going to be yours. If that property does not go up in value, there is no point putting it inside your super fund.
yeah, exactly. We've also had members that have joined our program because they've had to start again because they got the wrong property. It ended up losing money. They ended up selling it and losing most of their super dollars because they didn't do it properly. So there's the risks. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're getting a property in your name or you're getting a property in your super. You need to do the due diligence. You need to make sure you're educated. You need to make sure you tick all the boxes of that property. Is it the right, financial fit? Have you bought in the top 100 suburbs? I mean, there's up to 21 points of due diligence that you have to go through, and you've got to do it before you buy the property. No point after. Too late. So it doesn't matter if you're buying a property in your name or buying a property in your super. You've got to make sure you do the process properly, 100%. Absolutely.
I am going to tell you, just leaving it on this note, because I know we have to get going to our bigger group, Belinda. If you are looking for all the different options, ways into the market, we do have a Freedom Through Property Challenge that we run this next month coming up. It's going to
Yeah,
start
guys,
first Monday next month.
if you want to sit in the driver's seat and actually go through the process of all the steps of becoming an investor without buying a property, so the whole test drive, it's our 14-day challenge. Really super important. It's possibly the best education. Remember, a lot of this stuff they don't teach in schools. There's no degree on this stuff. So by doing our 14-day challenge is an absolute fantastic way to get started. Um,
I
number
have
two,
just posted the link in the channel, so make sure that you have a look for that link. But
so
it's
there is
going
a
to
link.
be
Make sure you do that, which is fantastic. Number two is if you want to chat to myself or Stacey, I suggest you put hashtag wealth for wealth call. Absolutely. And
yeah.
one of our lovely team will reach out to you guys and they will definitely. Someone's just written 14-day got me going. Yes, absolutely. Guys, can I tell you some of my best members who are now on their second, third, fourth property, they
Started
started
there.
on the 14-day challenge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've just had
I'll
someone.
be in the group, help you run it. I'll help you run through it. So if you've got any questions about that challenge whilst you're going through it, I'll be there to help you and answer any questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
100%.
we better get going. Our big group has started now. So we're going to go across
Right,
to our main members, and we will love you and leave you.
that's it. Hey, it was lovely to see you. Thanks for being a part of our Thursday night, and I hope to see some of your lovely faces in the 14-day challenge. If not, hashtag wealth. We'll see you there.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Stacey. Legend. Ciao, ciao.